Hello, welcome to Pixel Graphics. In this video, you'll learn step-by-step how to create your own mockup template from scratch. Follow along, and by the end, you'll be able to design and use your own professional mockups for your projects. Now, let's get started. In this example, I'll be working with a Chinese collar. First, prepare your base layer. Next, use the pen tool to draw precise paths that will serve as masks. Ensure the option is set to path rather than shape. Masks are essential because they define how smart objects, our design patterns, conform to the contours of the shirt. We'll need to create individual masks for the collar, the body, and the sleeves to achieve an accurate mockup. Now follow along as I show you how it's done. Make sure the mask is selected before clearing the path. We'll refine the outer edges of the mask later. Next, let's do the sleeves. Let's clear the outer areas of the masks. First, select your base layer. Then, go to the top menu, click Select, and choose Subject. Right-click, select Inverse to clear the outer part. Now, unhide all the color mask layers. Make sure the mask itself is selected, then press Delete to remove the overlaps. It might seem a little complicated, but stick with me and copy each step on how to fix the mask for the body. Next, we're going to do the back. It's the same procedure as the front, so follow along. I won't speed this up so you can keep up. Let's create a new folder and drag the mask into it. We're doing this so we can warp or adjust the smart object later to fit perfectly on the shirt. Again, don't forget to rename the folders accordingly so everything stays organized. We won't be doing this on the collar since it's usually plain. square shape and turn it into a smart object. Select the layer. Right-click, then select Convert to Smart Objects. Next, double-click the layer to open the smart object. Before placing the design, scale it to match your pattern dimensions. This step is optional, but highly recommended to simulate the proportions of an actual printed shirt. Inside, we'll be placing our design, but I'll be using a grid as a sample this time. Now, delete the color layers we used for masking since we've already transferred the mask into the folder, and we won't be needing them anymore. Be mindful because you might delete the collar and ribbings. The shadow looks a bit light, so let's enhance it. I'll duplicate the base layer of both front and back and set it to linear burn to darken it, then fine-tune the effect by adjusting the opacity. Make sure the duplicated layer is placed on top of all the other layers. Once again, don't forget to rename the layer for better organization. The line in the middle doesn't look well in my site, so I'll go ahead and remove it. Now that's better. I will apply it on the back as well. And we're done! That's your own mock-up template. If you'd like to use mine, I'll provide instructions below on how to download it for free. Thanks for watching.